Hey, here we are. It's AI mistakes. On today's episode, we'll talk about some really interesting stories today. And I want to start with something that's a little bit disturbing. This just in from a study from Upwork, a whopping 77% say that AI tools have actually decreased their productivity and added to their workload. What is going on? From burnout to balance AI enhanced work models. This is a very interesting message from Upwork, and I think we need to talk about it. This surprising statistic is an indication that maybe all is not well in the world of AI. And what does that mean for you and I? Well, I have some thoughts, and as usual, we have to talk about the details. So let's dive into how AI can actually help you today on AI mistakes. All right. So this Upwork study came out July 23 is when the blog post hit. They've done this research, the Upwork Research Institute, which I have to be honest, I've not ever heard of the Upwork Research Institute. That's news to me. And there's some details in this study that I think are interesting. Now, you have to consider the source of the information always. And in this case, Upwork is a marketplace ultimately for people to find the contract work help that they need and for contract workers to find jobs for them to do. And I think as you read through the study, you'll see indications of some contrivances, perhaps, or maybe a little bit of bias in the details that they are trying to convey. But I do think that while 77% is a pretty salacious number, much bigger than I would have expected, I got to be honest, I'm not entirely surprised that people are seeing some bad results with the use of AI and that it is actually decreasing their productivity. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And I want to go through some key details about this article before I jump into how AI can really help you. And if you stay till the end, I'll share with you my thoughts about what it looks like for us going forward with the use of AI. There are so many details about the way that we use AI, about the tools that are available, about the processes, about the market in general. The reality is, it's just far too much to cover, even on an AI channel like mine, AI Mistakes, where we talk primarily about the mistakes that people are making, how you can leverage AI to really solve problems for you, and to not be afraid of making mistakes and to overcome that with the power of AI. But I also put out a newsletter that kind of helps you tactically understand the bigger picture, what's going on in the world of AI, so that you can take action and really improve your situation. That's what we're really about here at AI Mistakes. How can we leverage these mistakes and missteps to our advantage to make us better and improve our standing, our position, our knowledge, our skills, and experiences? And so let's dive into this article a little bit, and then we'll talk a bit more about how AI can actually help you in the things that you need to do. The first thing that we need to talk about is that, yes, AI is driving a push of productivity. Why is that? Well, I think at its core, what we've been talking about with the use of AI, and particularly most recently with the use of generative AI, is how the generation of information from tools like ChatGPT are really enhancing the productivity capabilities of the individual. The expectations around productivity are driven out of the factual improvements in efficacy, efficiency, and productivity that individuals are realizing. And it is fair to say that I am part of that trend, because I myself have found a tremendous advantage in using these capabilities. In fact, there is essentially not a single day that in my role of being a founder of AI Mistakes, I'm not using AI to get work done. So it is materially contributing to my ability to get work done, to be a creator. And I'm not going to lie, it helps me to produce this video series. Creating an episode for AI Mistakes involves a lot of research. I'm not just sitting down in the chair and turning the camera on, though I would admit to you that I do enjoy doing that. Often it doesn't turn out very well. It takes a bit of research and study to understand what it is that people are interested in and to build content and to write a story and to talk about a topic with knowledge and intelligence that provides insights that you're actually interested in. And to share details like this, the McKinsey report that came out. Look, they talked about how it has driven a lot of lower costs and it's enabled organizations to do more work. And there are real implications to that. There are organizations that are laying off talented individuals and trying to replace them with AI. Now, I would not recommend that approach. In fact, I would call that an AI mistake. If you think you can simply take the humans out of the equation and replace them with a large language model, regardless of how capable it might be, I think that's a real mistake. In fact, what we should be doing is augmenting the work that employees are doing to improve them. But there are right and wrong ways to do exactly that. And that's part of the conversation that we need to have here, because you've heard the saying probably many times, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The human mind is very powerful. And if you come into the situation with a preconceived notion that it's not going to help you, well, you're going to prove that true. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, what does that mean for the rest of us? If you think you can, if you are actively searching for ways that these technologies can improve the work that you do, then that will be the case. In fact, what we have also seen outside of this Upwork study in multiple studies and research investigations, individual contributors, stories, and anecdotes, is that people are using this technology to really do things that they couldn't have done before. And I will tell you my own personal story. In fact, when we get into the meat of this article, yes, we are absolutely seeing that leaders are demanding more from their employees. And there's a variety of reasons why they're demanding more. We've seen a march in increased productivity largely since we started the modern economy. In fact, computers have been a major part of that story from very early on. You may or may not be aware that IBM, International Business Machines, took their name not from computers, but from mechanical devices that actually helped improve productivity of work. In fact, one of my more favorite stories came from Connections. James Burke did a television series on the BBC back in the 80s, and then subsequently wrote a book. And this story of IBM building machines to take the census, they were actually really contributing to the effectiveness and the speed with which census takers could record the information that people were submitting. And so this idea that computers are improving our productivity is not new, and it will continue to be true for the foreseeable future. What is different is how we're seeing the impact of AI on that productivity. There are some key things that we are observing. And what I want to call out here is really the heart of this paragraph. You see, workers are able to leverage the use of AI. And when they are able to lead that charge, amazing things are happening. Increased demand from executives are also creating a problem. How are these two things related? Well, top down and bottom up are very different parts of the equation. When you get a demand versus when you take it upon yourself, oftentimes the results are very different. And in fact, if you've read any business books, any books that explain how organizations work, how people get things done, the process of being a great manager, if you've read the studies, one of the things you quickly learn is people need autonomy. And so when a company comes in and requires an employee to use an AI tool, it doesn't mean that those employees know how to use the tool. In fact, we can sit down and I can give you lots of things that you have to use, but it doesn't mean that you know how to use them. And that's one of the big scenarios that we're talking about here. We're talking about a job that an employee for large situations is already doing an effective job. A leader comes in and gives them a tool with AI, and because the vendor that created that tool told them that the productivity of their workers was going to increase, they demand that increase in productivity. See, that's not the right way to do this. You have to set people free and let them understand for themselves how their work can improve with the use of the tool, because you have to actually use the tool to see the productivity go up. And as this study shows us, just using the tool may not necessarily be enough. See, historically, we have seen that at companies that have deployed AI, we have seen a productivity increase. What we don't get to see in this report is exactly what those organizations are doing to realize that level of increase. What we come out of this conversation with Upwork is really interesting. One of the identifying traits of this study is that freelancers are actually taking advantage of AI to an incredible degree. What does that mean? That means somebody that is totally independent, that's on their own, that has their own set of objectives, self actualization, they're realizing real benefits from the use of AI. And so, what does that mean for us? Because the devil is in the details. What that means for us is if you set your mind to it, if you understand the things that you need to do, and you're trying to find ways to leverage AI to make that situation better, you're going to be a whole lot more successful. And I think that's the most important detail here. The takeaway for all of us is to recognize those things that you need to do, those tasks, those preferences, those ideas that you need to construct, pull together, and do something meaningful with. That's a real opportunity. That is the most effective place to apply AI. So I want to talk through a little bit more about what that looks like. In fact, I recently did an in person event, and it's local here in DFW. This month's event, unfortunately, didn't get scheduled for a variety of reasons, but we're looking to make it happen again next month in September. So if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, take a look at the website, check out the event, and maybe we can help each other get together. But during that event, I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about this concept of hacking your life with AI, the things that you can do to integrate AI into your life, letting you achieve things that you can do on your own. But I think it really superpowers the things that you want to do. It helps you find those areas of opportunity and improve that work that you're doing in myriad different ways. And I made some minor updates to the presentation before we jumped in here. But look, the thing that I want you to think about is, first, what is your skill set? We all have a set of skills that we use, and most often your vocation is tied to the skill set that you have. The thing is, with our modern world, oftentimes we see skill sets have to change with the change in technology. It wasn't that long ago that we didn't even have the iPhone, and think about what's changed since then. And even if that's not something you're familiar with, there are myriad technological changes that have dramatically affected our ability to get things done. And the first of these is, with the use of AI, you don't necessarily have to go to school to learn a new skill. With the power of AI, it's possible for you to strengthen a skill that you need simply by doing a question and answer session with a large language model. It can help you identify those places where you're not so good, or perhaps even build a learning path that's customized to your individual needs. This is incredibly powerful. We've seen a trend over the last 5 or 6 years of major high qualified university educational courses becoming available online. And with the availability of those educational courses, the power is yours. Oftentimes, you can just go to YouTube and find hour-long lectures from the likes of widely published and well-known professors at institutions like the University of Pennsylvania, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or many other well-known organizations that are prestigious when they issue a diploma, because it is about not just the education you get, but the connections that are formed in those courses. And you also know that those courses often have guest lecturers. All of that information is available online, and much of it is available at absolutely no cost. You can leverage AI to help you identify exactly the kind of education and materials you need to learn and discover exactly where to get those to you at no charge. Now, that's not a diploma, but the reality is people are looking for doers, for people that have a skill and can apply it to the things that matter. And you can sharpen that skill set with AI today. In fact, you don't even have to pay for a subscription to the large language model. And you can do things like interactive practice. You can say, give me a quiz, and it will ask you questions. It will evaluate your response, how well you have answered those questions. So you can get quick feedback and continue to learn until that becomes a skill. Maybe you don't know where to start with the next skill. You can perform a skill gap analysis. So let's say you understand that there's a new job available. And since we're talking about AI today, maybe you are excited about this concept of prompt engineering. You'd like to become an effective prompt engineer. You can simply say, hey, AI, here's my resume. Here's all of the skill set that I have today. So it can quickly understand where you are today. And then you can say, I want to be a prompt engineer. What kind of skills do I need? What do I need to learn? And what information do I need to prioritize in becoming more adept at that skill set? Now, sometimes the AI isn't very good. It doesn't know a particular skill because it doesn't have a training data set that's around that. That too is a problem that can be solved with a bit of research. We have the advent of retrieval augmented generation, which means even if the model is not trained on that information, you can give it a document that provides insights. You can conduct a web search that will identify materials that are relevant to what you're trying to learn and will enable you to extend the capabilities of that large language model to specifically help you identify exactly what you need to learn and get started doing it. And once you start with that learning experience, it's important to monitor and track your progress, because if you aren't serious about it, if you aren't asking the question, what is my progress and what can I do next? You're not going to get to your destination because you're not thinking about where you're going. All of these things are really tremendous in helping you sharpen your skills. And I really like this fifth point here because I want to help you. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to work together, but you don't need to work with me for coaching in the use of AI. In fact, all it takes is a prompt. And if you've been to the website, you might have seen some of the things that I've shared on the website. There's actually a few prompts you can use that directly help with coaching. That's right. You can use AI to coach you, to improve your daily habits, to change your mindset, to get you thinking about the things that matter, for you to consider your goals and get working toward exactly the things that are going to enable you to make the transition and improve your position today and the skill set that you need to achieve your goals for tomorrow. Now, listen, getting your skill set, improving your brain is the most important use case in my book for doing practically anything. And this is where we need to talk a little bit more about what's possible, because when we talk about this idea of learning and enhancing what you can learn, there's some really bad things that you can do. In fact, I would say that using AI the wrong way for learning is definitely an AI mistake. We've seen the trend. And as we are closing in on a new school year, I'm thinking about all of the things that I can do to enable my kids to take full advantage of that educational experience. And some of the things I see on social media are a little bit scary. We all know that there are kids that are taking that assignment home from school and they're putting the question into ChatGPT. They're writing that in the prompt and they're taking whatever comes out of the magical machine and calling it done. The problem is there's no learning in that process. You're literally taking the question that the teacher provided and getting the answer from a large language model. Oftentimes, they're not even reading the output, they're just doing a copy paste job. What we've forgotten in the process is that the entire point of school isn't to get rid of the kids during the day, but in fact, it's to help them build the skill set they need to be successful in life. Now, we could argue about the curriculum and how effective it is, and there's all sorts of discussions that we could have there. But what I really want to focus on is that it is up to you, no matter who you are, whether you're a student in college, entering the fourth grade, like my youngest daughter, or starting an entire new business, enhancing this thing is what's most important. And so the way that you use the AI to do that is probably the area that we need to most focus on. See, what's really amazing about these tools is that they have an incredible level of data that has been used to provide these answers. And that's a double edged sword because what the studies have shown us is that as the answers get better and better, we apply our own knowledge less and less. We begin to rely on the technology because the answer is pretty good. I can't really improve on that. But that's also not true. In fact, I think we often tend to really underappreciate and underutilize our own experiences and knowledge in answering questions. I read a really fantastic study. Actually, it was a full book. It was put out by one of the higher learning institutions. Several professors got together and wrote this incredible book. It was called Machine Platform Crowd. And it talked about the use of crowd in order to really drive insights. See, you can actually leverage the power of the crowd by asking a group of people a question. You're going to get some amazing insights. Well, one of the fallacies that came out of this idea of using crowdsourcing was that if you took an individual and you gave them an opportunity to research the topic that you were asking about, oftentimes the quality of the answers actually decreased because they let go of that intuitive knowledge, those things that they had learned from experience, and they were relying on the research data instead. And I think this is one of the challenges that we have. See, there are a set of human behaviors that we have to account for in the learning process. But if you can identify those strengths, those areas where tools like ChatGPT can really improve what you know by giving you the right questions and answers to improve your experiences and how you fit the knowledge together, that really is a game changer. That is a legitimate help. There's also books that are pages and pages upon pages. I read probably well north of 100 books a year, but also admittedly, I don't read them cover to cover. Sometimes the ability to summarize a bit of information to get that useful nugget, that bit of information that you need that is relevant to you at this time is probably incredibly valuable. You can actually study something in greater detail by focusing in on those things that matter. And text summarization is one of those things that can help us do that. We talked earlier about this concept of figuring out where your shortcomings are, your skill gaps, and using that to figure out what to learn. This idea of personalized learning is where I think education is going to be over the next few years. And I'll come back to this a little bit later. But for those organizations that are not incorporating that personalization, I think we're going to see some dramatic fall off in value and interest because that's going to become par for the course. Being able to customize the experience and ensure that the individual is getting exactly the bits of information they need is going to be super important. Now, next one is a little bit controversial, but have you ever written something and you turned it in and you got it back and you were really startled by the grade? Like, man, I really thought this paper was good and this grade is not at all what I was expecting. Well, it turns out that one of the cool things that you can do is leverage these tools to give you fast feedback. See, you don't have to wait for the professor or the teacher to grade your essay. You can give it the entirety of the essay you've composed and ask for a grade. Look for ways to improve it. There are so many opportunities here. The challenge, I think, is if you're letting the large language model compose the essay for you and you're turning around and having it grade itself, those results are going to be mixed. That might actually get you somewhere, but the results are going to be a lot better if you're engaging your brain and bringing to bear those things that matter. That's a real learning opportunity, which brings us to probably the most common tool that I've used in learning and committing things to memory over time. Look, we have references today that would be incredible to people that were learning standard things even 20 years ago. That's me. But this ability to create a set of flashcards without having to do the work of pulling out the flashcard and reading the information and then writing it down and flipping it over and figuring out what to put terms with sentences. You can literally go to ChatGPT and say, create a set of flashcards about anything, and it will do it. In fact, with the likes of Claude, you can use artifacts and have it write you an entire application that does flashcards. You don't have to find a website that offers a flashcard service anymore. You can have the AI do absolutely everything, including generate the data, generate the application, and grade you as you are filling out those responses. This is a tremendous opportunity. If you're not taking advantage of AI to improve how you're learning, you're really missing out. Now, writing is another one, and this one is really close to my heart. I'm not a writer by default. I did some journal writing in middle school and high school. It was not my favorite. It was really cathartic for me. It was really just trying to work through my experiences and understand what was going on in my life and getting my feelings sorted out. But writing is an incredible skill that I'm trying to master. And I have found some really great ways to get better at that. The first of these is I've actually worked with fine tuning a data set for my own purposes, whether that is writing prose, marketing information, trying to understand the content that goes into my course, being able to customize the kind of information that is being generated by a generative AI model is incredibly useful. This is probably the most advanced item on my list here, and it's not for everybody, but I can tell you there are plenty of AI powered tools out there that will help you do exactly this. And based on some of the examples I saw, even just this week, you can do some fine tuning with the likes of GPTs and artifacts from Claude to have it actually identify what you need to write like you so that you can get a real assistant in doing your writing. Now, this is probably the most realistic in the list, and that is having it generate some prompts. If you can use the model to help you figure out what kind of things you want to cover, the kind of topics, the style of the writing, this can help you get a start like nothing else. And this is my favorite use case of AI across the board, whether it is writing an article, creating a presentation, coming up with the script for a video, being able to generate that information right out of the gate is probably the most useful capability of generative AI. But it doesn't stop there because, as we've talked about, you can use it for proofreading. You can use it to help you get better. So as you start that draft, you write the finished product, come right back to the large language model and say, rate my information here. How can I make this better? And if you're not sure what to write about, generating those ideas are really great, but you can also use it to generate ideas on how you approach that topic, because the way that you write it is also as essential as what you're ultimately writing about. Maybe you don't know enough about the thing that you're writing about, and so getting you started isn't quite enough. You also need to conduct research. This too, AI can help. You can go and learn about a topic before you write about it. Last but not least is using it as a co author. And I think that this is probably a lot more popular than people would like to admit. If you can use it to be your co writer, not only can it help you to generate those things that you want to write, you can get that immediate feedback. And in fact, I think we're going to see an increase of individual authors undertaking works that they couldn't possibly have imagined by being able to leverage these capabilities. They don't have to find another person that will help them. And having this concept of a virtual editor is really powerful when you're working with these technologies. Now, as we approach the school year, in fact, my kids are starting here in just a couple of days next week, we're going to see an increase in technology in the classroom. In fact, this has been a known trend for a number of years. Some of the more prestigious organizations are banning the use of technology in the classroom because they want to be sure that when they finish that education, their mind is as sharp as possible. Others are going the opposite direction. They want to empower the students with the absolute latest and greatest in technology so that they are experienced in using it. So when it comes time to go out into the workforce, they know exactly how to use that technology to make their work life better. And I haven't done the research on this. I'm not really ready to weigh in on it, but I do think that there are probably some appropriate places where AI could really be helpful in the classroom. And the first is actually a personal anecdote. I have a great friend and coworker that was previously a teacher, and we had a discussion at length about being able to generate a lesson plan with the power of AI. In fact, this is one of the more challenging things that our teachers do, trying to figure out how to get kids interested in the curriculum that they need to accomplish. Oftentimes, the curriculum is established by the state or the school district, and so they have a set of requirements that they have to comply with in order to teach that curriculum. You can take those requirements and leverage what is really interesting to the students, bring them together, and create a curriculum that is engaging for the students like nothing else. Sometimes you have to get inside the head of the student. What are they thinking? What's going on? Generating questions and thinking about what they are seeing as you're sharing with them is a really valuable tool. This, of course, applies particularly in the marketing space as well. But the sooner we can understand the other side of the conversation, the better that conversation is going to be. And we talked about feedback for you as an individual, but this is true for students as well. I mean, how many times have you sat in a situation where you were really just waiting for the time of another person to get their feedback to understand, hey, is this what you were looking for? And we can leverage the power of large language models to automatically evaluate and provide students with feedback. Creating that content, composing things. I mean, you've probably seen with all of the abundance of AI tools, some of the incredible visuals that it is possible to produce. In fact, some of the images in my PowerPoint presentation here are, in fact, generated with AI because it really helps to put a visual with a concept instead of just having text on the page. Being able to provide those details and visualize what's going on has been tremendously useful. And of course, last but not least, and this one most recently, my favorite tool, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, with the use of artifacts, you can make some incredibly engaging graphics, simulations, tutorials. There's really some incredible opportunity here to find new ways to present material and in an interactive way turning it more into a game. I mean, who doesn't want to more deeply understand the topic of conversation, the things that they are learning? So we've talked about learning a lot. We've talked about skills and developing that. We've got personal productivity opportunities as well. And of course, all of these are accumulative. That is to say, you can stack them, right? We all have some things to learn. We all have some skills that we want to acquire. And if you're not thinking about skills that you lack that you'd like to go and pursue, well, look, what do you think a hobby is? That is picking up a skill for fun. It doesn't have to be something you have to do. And if you can have AI accelerate your progress so that you can be more effective at doing that thing, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? So let's talk about some productivity boosting opportunities. We all have pretty busy schedules. I know as a parent and a professional, sometimes that calendar just gets out of control, but there are ways that you can use tools, particularly AI, to empower that schedule. There are a lot of different ways that you can think about solving the time management problem. It varies, right? Maybe it's simply putting something on the calendar. Maybe it's arranging those blocks of time on your calendar. Maybe it's thinking about the things that you need to do, what actually belongs on the calendar that is the biggest problem. Or perhaps it is simply, I just need priorities. Here's what's important. Help me sort it out. There are increasingly new apps that will help you do this, but it doesn't have to be complicated. You can use the tools that you're already familiar with and augment them with AI. Increasingly, it's possible to write software that would even help you to do this. So, if time management is an area of concern from you, take advantage. Ask AI how you can do a better job of that. Oftentimes, you have a set of priorities and everything has to get done. But maybe you can automate some of those things away. Maybe there's work that you're doing today that isn't really necessary. I know in the social media space, you can publish posts at any time of day, but you can also, on many platforms, schedule those posts. Some of the best tips I've seen from creators is to think ahead and actually schedule some posts to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but being able to leverage automation to solve for those things that matter the most to you could be a real opportunity. You'll have to understand the work that you're doing to identify where those opportunities lie. And that may be something that you need help with. We're not all good at seeing what's going on, but it does pay to take a step back. And look, you can always ask the AI, here's my day. What can I eliminate? What can I automate? This is another key one. We make many decisions every day. Sometimes just being able to allocate a decision to a system can be tremendously valuable, even if it's a randomized choice. Having someone else make a decision can be a real game changer. But as AI gets increasingly adept at working with a myriad of subjects, you might find a real advantage in simply asking for a bit of advice. What kind of decisions could be made with the help of AI? This idea of automating your tasks and putting things on your calendar, I think, is really a huge opportunity. There are some apps that are out there today that can really help you supercharge your calendar. But I think for me, what was most effective was actually thinking about what I wanted for my day and setting things up to be repetitive in a way that I was comfortable with, in a way that I enjoyed. One of the biggest challenges with this, of course, is social media. How many of us have spent far too much time scrolling? I know that I've been guilty of it a time or two, and it is a challenge. But there are tools that you can use. This seems like a very simple and trivial thing to do, and it's not even AI. But did you know that there are lots of ways that you can prevent notifications and alerts? That's a tool. Did you know that you can remove a social media app from your device to keep yourself from using it? That's decidedly not AI, but sometimes it's what's necessary to get those things out of the way. With the creation of generative AI, we're able to compose messages dramatically faster, provided the right context. And if you spend a lot of time in email, this is something you probably need to look into. Tools like Gemini that are integrated directly into your mail experience can be incredibly valuable. Microsoft has the same capability in Copilot, and I'm sure that there are others that you should consider. Sometimes just having it draft a quick reply can really help you figure out what to say. Sometimes you just need an idea. Other times it's getting the words put together in the right order, and generative AI can be really good at that. And this is another, it's not really a productivity play, I'll be honest. And I don't know how much travel planning would be considered mundane, but maybe it's time to take a trip, to go on a vacation. And your habit is to plan the vacation so much that it's not really enjoyable. Have you considered consulting an AI to talk through those travel plans? Maybe you can take a lot of that off your own plate and still have a great experience that's not overloaded. But we're not done with the tedious tasks, because what we've seen, especially over the last year, is that one of the biggest productivity boosts is being able to take a task that you don't really want to do and hand a portion of that work over to an AI assistant capability. When it comes to serving customers, helping people solve problems, there's a lot of advantages with AI. You can identify frequently asked questions, you can answer those frequently asked questions, you can even help a person get to an operator faster by leveraging these kinds of technologies. I don't think I can overstate what's coming. You might have seen in a recent set of stories that Microsoft has this, I'm sorry, not Microsoft, that McDonald's has decided to take away the AI based menu ordering in their drive through because it was creating problems. Well, not a few days later, I saw exactly the same kind of experience for Wendy's. That was an AI experience, and the video was actually of a person having a very simple and straightforward experience in ordering off the menu. Now, they had a very simple order and it was clearly understood. But in that case, being able to understand what the customer wanted and put that into the ordering system was probably beneficial to the folks operating inside the restaurant. Have you seen how overworked some of our service people are? AI may be a way that we can really help those people so that they can focus on the things that matter the most. If it's just taking a simple order, maybe that is something that we should give to AI. Then again, it's going to depend on the circumstance. But for me, content creation is something that I do pretty much every day. And oftentimes I'm not sure how that post is going to land. And so I'll go to AI and I'll have it evaluated, whether it's Grammarly for grammar or going to ChatGPT and saying, what do you think of this post? Is it any good? How could I make it better? That's been really valuable for me over time. And I think it's actually helped me improve my writing. It also makes the process a lot less tedious because I can move a lot more quickly. I don't get stalled out quite so easily. Research and summarization is another really big one for me. It's not uncommon for me to be writing research reports, providing analysis and insights to others on industries, technologies, AI most often lately, but I've got 25 years in technology. I've worked across compute and development and innovation, and there's all sorts of things that I need to go and learn about so that I can help others with the problems that they have. And this is a really valuable opportunity. Data entry is one of those interesting ones. And maybe you've come across a scenario where you have to translate information in one form to another. I've spent many days writing software or code or transforming information where I have to hit a set of keys repeatedly to modify information. But maybe a regular expression doesn't make it easy to transform that information, and it's just a manual set of processes. With generative AI, it's oftentimes very straightforward to say, here's a source document, here's the output that I'm looking for, take this information on page A and translate it for me. That's an incredible thing. You can save hours and hours of time on data entry. And then this last one, translation. Look, I've tried for years to learn other languages. I'll be honest, in high school, I didn't do so well in that third year of German. I still remember quite a bit from that experience, but I was never able to make the leap. I have a lot of respect for folks that do translation, and I think we're going to see some real shifts in translation over the next couple of years because increasingly this capability of making a written translation from one language to another has gotten incredibly accurate and has become really valuable. In fact, we're seeing some live translation capabilities go live here where you can be in, for example, a foreign country and not speak a word of that language, but with the vocal capabilities of ChatGPT, you can actually speak in one language and it will translate and speak it for you in the other language, acting as a live translator. Listen, there's a lot of really great stuff that is in my presentation that I covered live and in person for those folks that came to my event a few weeks ago. I just can't go on forever with this content. So I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to jump forward in my presentation because I want to help you solve the problem for yourself. And the best way for you to do that is to think about what it is that matters in your day. What are the things that you are spending the most time on? And in fact, if you can identify those areas where personalization is key, you can really make a big difference. And even if you don't know what those areas are, you can use AI to help you do exactly that. The tools that I use most often today are Gemini, and I do a lot of looking through my emails and understanding the content that comes to me, the messaging that comes to me. Perplexity is my research home. If I'm researching a topic, you can pretty much bet that I'm going to go to Perplexity first. There's a lot of flexibility there. I do pay for the service because I like to switch between the models. They continue to evolve. It seems like, depending on the day of the week, you might see Gemini, OpenAI, Microsoft, or Anthropic take the winner's chair. And, a few weeks ago, a new version of Llama was released. I was able to quickly go into my settings and start using the new version of Llama to get some experience with that new model. ChatGPT is a real winner because it's free. You can go sign up and use it to a certain degree. They're continuing to optimize that. I made a video not too long ago about what the differences are with the 4.0 mini model that they recently unleashed on the world. And they continue to make some great strides. And then the area that I'm still kind of experimenting in, but I'm really interested in right now is Poe. Poe actually has a similar capability to Perplexity where you can choose what models you want to leverage in answering your questions. Just like ChatGPT, you can build individual bots or capabilities that are purpose driven. There's a lot of opportunity here to customize. And I think that's the real power behind something like Poe. So if you're not using the free solutions and you're open to some pay solutions, I can definitely make some recommendations, and I'll put some links in the comments for you if you are looking for referrals. But OpenAI, Perplexity, and even Gemini have some availability completely for free that you do not need to pay for. So look, go and find something that works for you. I mean, it really is about identifying those things for you. And I think this is the future of AI and automation. It is leveraging that work that you need to do to figure out what makes sense. If it's a repetitive task, that's a pretty good opportunity. If it is something you are doing every day, absolutely. If it's something you don't do as often, but you spend several hours doing it, there's probably some value in seeing what an AI might do. You can simply open ChatGPT and say, "This is my task. Can you help me with that?" It might really be that simple. People get overexcited about the complexity of prompts, and you just don't have to. What you need to do is just get started. But when we talk about AI for personal empowerment, it's this idea of integrating it into the things that you're already doing. That is the most powerful. Being able to bring AI directly into whatever you're doing is the most successful and beneficial example I could possibly give you. For me, that is GitHub Copilot. I'm still subscribed to GitHub Copilot. I'm building projects. Yes, there are many solutions that are out there. Cursor AI is one of them that I'm looking into. I haven't made that jump yet because right now GitHub Copilot is doing the job for me quite well, and most of the code I write is supported. I mean, the honest to goodness truth is oftentimes I'm publishing to GitHub anyway, so that is a great experience for me. I'm using Microsoft's code, and the plugin with Copilot works for me very well. And having the ability to build a function, call out a set of functionality, or explain what it is that I want to do and have that code written in the IDE exactly where I am without having to switch panes and go over to ChatGPT is incredibly valuable. That integrated experience is key. So if you can find a way to integrate AI into the thing that you're doing, that is the most powerful way to do it. The next level, of course, that we're going to see continually advance, and there was some allusions to this by Sam Altman with a pending release of a new version from OpenAI, this concept of a strawberry release that's more agentic, that is really basically allowing AI to operate at the level of a human being. I think we'll get there at some point. I'm not sure how quickly we'll get there, and I'm going to need a lot more proof than a blog post to tell me that we've gone agentic, but I am watching this space very carefully. We are seeing increasing agent-based capabilities that basically allow you to give an agent an assignment. Go give me an answer about what is better, a plastic pencil or a metal pencil, and it will go and do the work for you and turn in a report. That is agentic computing, and it does a lot more. I mean, you can have it write entire bits of code. There's some really powerful examples out on social media. And then for me personally, look, being able to customize it to my needs and have it help me with the things that matter most to me is absolutely the future. And you can do that at scale with AI like never before. The customization that lets you create exactly the experience you need, exactly the tool you need, is the future of AI. Now, where does that leave us in terms of you and I and our status in the world, our employment? Perhaps you're concerned about what the future holds. But let me leave you with this. If you were thinking about you and what you need, your capabilities, if you're thinking about the future and opportunities for you, whether that is becoming an entrepreneur or holding a different kind of job with an entirely new skill set, I really think that the opportunities are for people like you ahead. If you can find ways to create and integrate, bring people together, solve real problems, I think there's always going to be an opportunity for us to do that work. And in fact, that's probably the area that I'm most concerned about, because we've already seen evidence that when things are successfully automated, people simply give up. They lose the will to continue doing that thing. Don't let that happen to you. Keep your brain sharp. Always be trying to improve yourself and level up. And one of the ways that you can do that is to go make some AI mistakes. Go grab the AI, start working with it, try to build something. It is through the mistakes that we make that become the most powerful lessons to us. In fact, what we're increasingly seeing with training is that if you can correct a mistake after it's made, the model is going to do better the next time. So use the power of mistakes. Go learn, and we'll see you next time here on AI Mistakes.